Hey guys, welcome to Technique, and this is Nirmal here, and today we'll do the reviews of one of the most awaited smartphones, and it's called the Nokia X. So Nokia X debuted at the Mobile World Congress 2014 in Barcelona, where Nokia announced its first Android-powered smartphone, the Nokia X, along with Nokia X Plus as well as XL. So X Plus and XL will come in a couple of months, and right now Nokia X has been released in India and certain other markets. So we'll have a detailed review of this device with respect to design, build quality, the performance, the gaming aspect, then the camera, the battery life, etc. So that's the overall review. We'll do it in this video. First, let's talk about the design and the build quality of the device. So when you first look at Nokia X, you get a feeling that this is very similar to the Nokia Asha series, which was recently launched at Nokia World. So the Nokia Asha 503, 502 and the 500 has a similar design, and you can see the design is very similar to these phones, except for the back panel, which here we have a matte finish and colored back panel instead of the glossy panel on the glass panel on the Asha series. So design wise it's very similar, and the hardware buttons are also similar. You have the volume keys and the power button on the right side, and on the left side there is no buttons, very similar to the Asha phones. And at the bottom you have this the micro USB charging slot, and at the top you have the 3.5mm audio jack. So that's on the hardware aspect. At the top you have this speaker for calls, and on the bottom you have just one hardware button, unlike the Android phones which have three hardware buttons. Here only just one back button included, and there is no front facing camera on this device, very similar to the Asha phones as well as the Nokia Lumia 525 which we reviewed recently. So front facing camera is missing on this device. Now the back, if you see, you have the 3 megapixel fixed focus camera, and there is no flash also included, and in the middle you have this Nokia logo, and at the bottom you have the speakers. So those are the design and aspect. So the build quality is again as just like any other Nokia phone, it's really good. The solid build as well as the fit and finish has been taken care really good by Nokia. So the device feels really solid, and although we would have liked a curved design on the side, just like Lumia 525 which has a curved design towards the edges, so it gives a really good feel. But since this does have only a 4-inch display, holding the phone is really compact and easy to use. Now coming on to the display. So the display on this device is an IPS LCD 4-inch display which has a 480 by 800 pixel resolution, the WVGA resolution. So it's very similar to the Nokia Lumia 525, except for the fact that the viewing angles are slightly better on the 525. You can see here the viewing angles are just okay, not that great when compared to the Lumia 525, which also does have a IPS plus LCD and the 4-inch display. Now that's a display aspect of this device. So it does not have the Nokia's sunlight readability and a clear black display, so the viewing the display on sunlight isn't that great. If you need to increase the brightness, else you will not have a great viewing angles in the sunlight. So display on this device is just okay. We feel that the Lumia 525 has slightly better display and the viewing angles, probably it is related to Windows Phone OS as well. Now coming on to the software. So this is the most important aspect of any phone. So this runs Android, but unlike the normal Android phones we have in the market, this does not have the Google services, apps and the API. So this runs AOSP, the Android open source project, and Nokia stripped out all the Google services, API and apps. So you don't have Gmail, YouTube or the Google Maps or any other Google apps. So instead Nokia has added its own mapping solution, the Here Maps. Then you have a Nokia Mix Radio, FM Radio, Nokia Music, etc. So this does have all the aspect, but they are not of Google services, just like normal Android phones. So software, it's really refreshing because it does have a new UI which is not found on any other Android phone. So you can see the tiled interface is very similar to what we find on the Windows phone. So Nokia has kept the UI similar to its Windows phone range, and you get a really good feel of the UI. Now you can see the tiled interface. This is rearrangeable, so you can just press and hold, just like what you see on the Windows Phone, and increase the size and then move it around and change the position. So that's the customization options are there. You can also create folders on the home screen and then add or group the apps which you have installed. But unlike the Android phones, where you have the home screen and the app drawer, this home screen and app drawer is just made into one single list. So you just have on the home screen, you have all the installed apps, and you have to scroll down to see all the apps, unlike Android phones where you have app drawer separate from the home screen. So you don't show all the apps on the home screen in Android phones, but here all the apps are listed on the home screen, and to uninstall an app, just press and hold and press the close button. So that's how the UI works. Now if you swipe to the left or the right side, you have this fast lane feature. So this is again carried over from the Nokia Asha. The Nokia Asha has this fast lane feature, which is basically a history of all the apps you have, all the apps and tasks you have performed on the Nokia X. So you can see whatever task you have performed will be available in the fast lane. And if you can also clear the history in the fast lane by just pressing and hold an item and then pressing the close button. So you can just remove that app from the history. So that's how fast lane works. So fast lane works really well, but there is no real multitasking on this device. So if you want to switch app, you have to come back to fast lane, then select this particular app from the fast lane. Then you get to, if you want to switch back, you have to come back to the home screen by pressing and holding the back button, then switch from here. So that's the way multitasking works on the Nokia X. So there isn't a real multitasking on this device, because you have to come back to fast lane every time you want to switch apps, unlike the normal multitasking switch on the Android phones, which is missing here because Nokia has added just one hardware button, the back button. Apart from that, you also have a notification bar. So you can see here the options here. So you can switch between the apps, and then you have the quick toggle for the quick settings, and you have the option to open the select settings. So that's the option available on the top. So you can switch from Wi-Fi to Bluetooth, etc. So in the settings, you have pretty much options like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, data counter, then dual SIM settings, sound, display. So these are pretty much similar to what we find on the Android phone. You also have the fast lane option available, so you can switch. You can configure fast lane how you want. Then you have the normal accounts. So Google account is missing here, so probably you need to root your phone and install the Google services to get the Google account. Then you have other options like date and time, accessibility, developer options, etc. Now coming on to the hardware specs. So this runs a dual core Snapdragon S4 processor. So it's just 1 GHz dual core processor, and although the processor is just okay for this device, but the main issue is the RAM. It comes with just 512 MB of RAM, and out of this, just 200 to 250 MB of RAM is just available to the user. Rest is taken by the system and other apps. So that's very less when compared to the normal Android phones. So if you see the price range, you have many phones have 1 GB of RAM on and in this price range. So that's one area which Nokia X really lags. And you can see this the lagging in performance because of this low memory. So quite often you feel when you switch task or when you select an app, if you select here, so you can see it takes quite a lot of time to open a certain area. So if I just press the settings, and you can see there is a huge delay between the switch and the actual opening of the settings. So that's one really big issue with this device, because it's not that really fast. Even the UI is fast. Switching apps, if you take options, take settings, etc., it's really slow. And quite a lot of times if you press the home button, if you back button and then get back to home page, there's a big delay, some 5 to 10 seconds delay is there to open the home screen. So that's one really big issue with this device. So performance wise, we don't feel this is really great performing device, especially if you have too many apps installed, and if you're running too many apps in the background, performance might be a big issue. But just for an overall an average user use as the phone messaging, WhatsApp, etc., probably this might make sense. But if you are planning to run a lot of apps in the background, then we warn that this might not show up great performance. Now coming on to the store. Nokia X comes with the Nokia Store installed, so it does not have the Google Play Store as we were told before. So there is no Google services. So instead, Nokia has added its own store. While there are most of the popular apps are available in the Nokia Store, it does not have the number of apps like what we see on the normal Android phones. So that's one issue with the Nokia Store. But there is an issue. But having said that, you can side load apps. So we have already mentioned on our YouTube channel how to side load apps. So if you have the APK of a particular app, you can just transfer it to the SD card or the phone storage and then install it. So that's one good aspect of this device. Further, you have third party stores like the One Mobile and the Yandex store. So if you don't find an app in the Nokia store, you can install from these third party stores. So overall, the app segment, it's pretty good because you can side load apps. So that's one good aspect, even though the Android store on this device lacks many apps. So this is a quick look at the OS on the Nokia X, which runs custom Android and heavy customization from Nokia. So overall the OS feels pretty decent, but the problem is with RAM. So 512 MB RAM has really a big issue on this device if you run too many apps. Now coming on to the camera. So today's smartphones are equipped with pretty decent cameras. So this one comes with a 3.15 megapixel camera. So generally if you see the Nokia and the Android phones in this price range, you might see that most of them comes with either 5 megapixel camera or 8 megapixel camera. So but Nokia X comes with just a 3.15 megapixel camera. Even the Lumia 525 has a 5 megapixel camera. Again, there are quite a lot of settings options here. So you can see here face detection is there, saturation, contrast, sharpness. You can save the location on the data, then noise reduction is there, ISO, etc. is there. So although there are quite a lot of options, the camera is not that great. So it does not have a flash also. So on when you shoot shoot photos during daylight, it's just an average camera. So if you take the photo and open it in the computer, you will see that there's quite a lot of noise included in the photo. So overall we feel that the camera isn't that great. The 3.15 megapixel is just a casual shooter. You don't expect a great shots or great video. The video recording is at 480 by 800 pixels, so that's again really bad, terribly bad, because most of the phones does support HD recording at this price point. So this does not have support for that. It's just WVGA recording. So that's again a big issue with the camera. Although there are a few settings, you can also take panoramic photos. So those options are there, but we still feel the camera is not that great. It should have been at least a 5 megapixel camera on this device. Now let's have a quick look at the gaming performance of the device. So since it runs all the Android apps, almost 80% of the games the apps are supported. So you can run almost all popular games like Temple Run, Candy Crush, Subway Surfers, Asphalt 8 and more. So we'll just see the performance of few games like Temple Run, Candy Crush, etc. So we have tested this and found that when playing Temple Run and probably Candy Crush, you don't find any big issues because it does not take too much of memory on this device. But when you play games like Asphalt 8, you really feel the lagging in the device because it just comes with a 512 MB of RAM. So that's where the device lags. So heavy graphic rich games might not perform really great on this device, but for casual games like the Candy Crush, etc., or probably the Subway Surfers and even the Temple Run works really well on this device. So this is not a gaming device because it just has one 512 MB of RAM. So overall we feel for this price point it does have support for most of the games. So that's one good thing, and you can download and sideload Temple Run and other games on this device. Now talking about the battery on this device. So battery is one of the most important aspects of any smartphone, probably the most important aspect for any Android smartphone. So this just comes with 1500 mAh battery. So going by the battery specs, so it's just an average battery because probably 1500 might not be that great battery for an Android phone which uses too much battery when compared to Windows phones. So we tested the battery performance of this device with respect to 3G as well as 2G and with Wi-Fi. We found that on an average, if you are using 3G, the device lasts for around 10 to 14 hours on the battery, and if you are using 2G or mostly connected to Wi-Fi, the battery performance increases. So on an average, you get an average of 1 day of usage if you are not a power user, So if you use a few games, check email, then browse the internet and few calls, so you'll get average 1 day of usage. So you can see the battery performance isn't that great, but it's average, so you won't find much of an issue with the battery if you are a casual mobile phone user. So that's a quick battery performance of this device. So that's a detailed review of the Nokia X, the first Android powered smartphone from Nokia. So we have talked about the design, the build quality, the display, the performance, then the camera, the battery life, etc. So overall we feel the device has some good points, because the UI is refreshing and the welcome change, so it looks very similar to the Windows Phone. The build quality is good, although the design is very similar to the Asha series. But the main issue with the device is the performance. With just 512 MB of RAM, so this device lacks when you do heavy tasks like playing games, or even running too many apps. So that's one big issue with this device. The Nokia X Plus has 768 MB of RAM, and even the XL also has 768 MB RAM. So this has 512 MB of RAM and just 200 to 250 MB of RAM available to the user. So that's a pretty low by all standards. So, and also the camera is not that great on this device. The night photos are really terrible on this device, and the daylight photos are just okay with too much noise included. The battery life is pretty decent and not that great and not that low as well, so it's just an average battery. So overall we feel this device price, which is priced at around 8,200 in India. There are quite a lot of other phones available in this price range, say for the Nokia Lumia 525, which does make better sense than this phone, because that has a really smooth performance with 1 GB of RAM. But the problem is with 525 is that it runs Windows Phone, and if you want an Android OS, you might not get all the apps on Lumia 525. So that's where the Nokia X comes into play. So this does have the side loading option, and also you can install almost 80% of the Android apps currently available in the Play Store. So that's again the best aspect of this device. So at this price point we feel there are really better alternatives than the Nokia X, because the Lumia 525 is obviously a better choice than the Nokia X if you are not if you don't really need the Android OS. The OS, the user interface looks pretty similar to the Windows Phone, and the build quality also is really good. So overall we feel that the device lacks in many areas. So it's first attempt by Nokia with the Android phone. So this has some good aspect, but the performance is really one big issue on this device. So that's a detailed review of Nokia X. If you have any specific queries regarding this device, drop a comment and we'll be glad to help you out with your queries. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and finally thanks for watching this video.